I want to welcome everyone who has joined us this evening. My name is Alex Fleksher. I haven't done the announcements in a while, so I'm going to take the opportunity to reintroduce myself. I am the creative director of the Faces of Orthodoxy social media account. We are just so grateful for the wonderful response that we've gotten from our followers. We are so grateful to our subjects such as Cindy, who it really takes a lot of guts to be interviewed, be photographed by a professional photographer. I mean, Cindy, you can share that, right? Like, to share and tell your story, show your background photos from your life and just like put it out there.
I think that I compared it to what I think it would feel like running naked down Avenue M in Flatbush when all of a sudden I was like all over the place. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But I think that as we can see, you know, each story just shows, you know, the beauty and the individual and the humanity of our community members in the Orthodox community. And I am so grateful. So, all right, well, we're going to jump into the conversation today. So our topic is Chesed and Leadership. We like to do lives every few weeks, focusing on one of our subjects. And the subject this week was Cindy Darrison. And we're going also to be talking to our guest, Aimee. Welcome, Aimee. Is she frozen? Or she just has a pretty smile on? I think she's frozen. And I think she's requesting to come back in. So there we go. Who both of these ladies are connected. Both of them have what to share about the topic tonight. And you're back. There we go.
Well,
we've got
technology.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I don't know if Instagram has changed, but normally when you pop off, there will just be a blank screen. And there was a picture of you just smiling, like frozen. Okay. So that's an improvement. Particularly with this story, with Cindy's profile, we had a lot of people responding, which was so beautiful, and sharing their feelings and their thoughts and their responses to Cindy's story and questions as well. So I really want to make sure we have time to address some of your questions, either to Cindy or to Aimee or to both. And that's where you can press at the bottom of your screen that little question mark in the circle, and at any time please put your question in there and I'll be checking that. If you do put your question in the comments, there's really not a guarantee that I'll see them because sometimes they just go by too quickly. So the best way is to put them in that little question box. We are ready to begin. Okay, so Cindy and Aimee, you know each other. I'm going to let both of you talk, but very briefly, Aimee actually was part of Cindy's Chesed Leadership program. So she's a graduate. She was part of one of the cohorts. So Cindy, let's start with you. Tell us about this Chesed Leadership program, and then tell me, like, how was Aimee able to be part of this? I'm sure there are many women who would be so interested. How did that connection? How was that connection made?
I want to thank UJA Federation of Greater New York. UJA Federation, major philanthropic organization supported by a broad range of people in the Jewish community doing incredible work. What is kept a fairly well secret is that they're doing tons of stuff in the Orthodox community, and they're always looking to do more. So 8 years ago, they said they wanted to do something for women. They thought that women in the community run gemachs, and they thought maybe they could do something for the gemachs. And someone asked me to go and speak with them. I'd been teaching nonprofit management at NYU at that time. I said to them that yes, there are women who run gemachs in our community, but really what happens is that when women see a problem, they start an organization to deal with the problem and answer, hopefully, to the problem. And if UJA really wanted to help, they would help us teach these women how to maximize the efficacy of their organizations and do more so they could serve more. UJA's partner in this was Truro, now Truro University, specifically the Lander College for Women and the Truro Graduate School of Social Work. We decided to go ahead and do it. So I recruited the first cohort, and it seemed to work. So I was recruiting the second cohort. Allison Joseph from Jew in the City had been in our first cohort, and she told Aimee about it. So that's how I met Aimee. And the next thing I knew, Aimee was in our second cohort. We just today started our seventh cohort.
Wow.
88 alumni. We have 18 women in the 7th cohort, and I already have women who want to be in the 8th cohort next year. So Baruch.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. What do you do for female-led Orthodox organizations?
So it's basically a 6-month crash course in nonprofit management, covering a range of issues that someone running a nonprofit needs to know. It also involves writing a strategic plan for some aspect of an organization's activity, whether it's a social media plan or a fundraising plan or a board development plan. And then the women are assigned a mentor, a woman from an established agency that helps them be a woman in leadership of an organization and helps them with a strategic plan. I think that the secret sauce of the program is the women themselves who stay in touch and network through a WhatsApp group, through ongoing alumni activity. It's an amazing, fabulous group of women working in a broad range of areas of activity in the community, whether it's education or healthcare or at-risk kids, problems in the home, special needs education, mental health is a major focus now. Amazing network of women.
Amazing. Before we get to you, Aimee, I'm just curious why you chose this title, Chesed Leadership. Tell me about these two concepts, how you tied it together.
Oh, that's interesting. We actually played around with a number of different names. In the beginning, it was myself, a couple of my colleagues from Truro University, and then the people who helped spearhead this at UJA. And women are so involved with Chesed, and we take a leadership role. It's that simple. Women are in the leadership, doing Chesed and in community.
Interesting. Okay, so Aimee, tell us about what you do and why you were drawn to Cindy's program.
Absolutely. So by way of background, I am a pediatrician by training, and I always thought I was going to be a pediatrician. I work in the medical field for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, through the years of my marriage and trying to raise a family and trying to build my family, we went through many years of secondary infertility, and we also had multiple miscarriages. And there was no one to talk to about it. And I was struck after my last children were born, I was struck with this idea that I knew I had a specific space. I had a specific, unique opportunity because of my training, because of my background, because of my personal story. I knew I could make a difference in this space, in the fertility world, in a way that no one had done before. And so I actually started networking, and I ended up meeting Reva Judith, who runs Nechama Comfort, and I was doing that work for a long time. And as part of that work, that was when I was connected with Cindy. Allison said, you need to join the Chesed Leadership Training Program. It's this amazing group of women who are all doing phenomenal things in the Jewish world at large. And we were at a stage in the organization where we were looking for more formal training, education, policy building, et cetera. And what I received was so much greater than just the standard, frontal learning of the education and all of the things that Cindy wanted to teach, the things that were on the syllabus. What I gained was a group of women who would go to bat for me and would help me in whatever I needed, whether it was something personal or whether it was something in regard to my professional space. I mean, this WhatsApp group that Cindy mentioned, she kind of mentioned it offhandedly. This is a group where it is a 24/7 reminder that there are dozens and dozens, now there are 80 some odd, and every time she has another cohort, that cohort is brought into this WhatsApp group. We talk about, we have, someone has a sick relative in Minneapolis. Someone needs help with, someone who just announced that there was sexual abuse in their family. Literally cancer treatment. Get me a wig. It's anything and everything. But a number of these women also, because they're all running their own organizations, formally or informally, whenever we need something, help me, what about a fundraiser? What about an accountant? What about a bookkeeper? What about someone who can help with marketing? And we all help each other. And so the incredible piece of this Chesed Leadership Training Program was not only, the actual syllabus, but it was this group, and it was the group, my actual cohort, but it just has expanded into this absolutely powerful mass of women who are changing the world every single day.
Amazing. You know, mentorship is so touted as just crucial in terms of, you know, leadership development. And I imagine that's what this is providing too, right? Like you each look up to each other and the different work they do.
Look, 1,000%. I mean, there are some of us that, you know, came in just on the ground up, that just had an idea and didn't know what to do with it. And how do we even start? And how do we know whether this is an idea that's worth pursuing? And others already had multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of their budget and had staffs and had et cetera. So the range and the gamut of the type of organizations that these women were running was just, I mean, it's phenomenal. So you really, a person like me who had a little bit of nonprofit space, there was a way for me to be a mentor, but also a mentee. And I think that that's like really also the power in this group.
Amazing. Cindy, do you feel that this is like a hidden gem in terms of how the secular world perceives Orthodox women? Like we need to highlight these women as much as we can. Like, do people understand that this is going on, or they still have their stereotypes?
So I have to tell you, I'm a very private person. I have stage fright. Like, this is a big deal for me to expose myself. As I said, I felt like I'm running naked down Avenue M. But I feel so strongly about the way that the Orthodox are portrayed, the way Orthodox women are portrayed. And I tell this story how I was once working on a political campaign, and someone, you know, I was asserting something that should be done. And I said, well, I know this from living in the Orthodox community. And someone said, well, you don't look Orthodox. And I said, this is what Orthodox looks like. We are Orthodox women. We are the Orthodox. We may be portrayed differently by haters, by Hollywood, by the New York Times, not all New York Times reporters, but some. And I really want to push back on that anti-Orthodoxy. It's wrong because it's incorrect, and it's wrong because it's immoral.
Interesting. And you started saying how the Federation, you know, the people that you were speaking to sort of had this understanding that Orthodox women run Gamaks, like that was the extent of their leadership. So how have they responded to you once they've seen the 7 cohorts of these powerhouse Orthodox women?
Amazing. First of all, UJA Federation is led by Eric Goldstein, who is Orthodox. And it showed a real desire on the part of line staff to get to know us better. And they have gone above and beyond since then in an increasing way to ask, what do you need? What can we do for the community? How else can we help? Chumi Friedman, who was in an earlier cohort, is now on staff with them, serving as a liaison to our community. UJA has community labs in the different communities, and they look out for us. And they're doing so much. I don't know if people realize they give money to our senior centers, our food pantries, our kojos. They pay for social workers to be in our schools. People don't realize that. UJA Federation is doing that. And yes, they've made a substantial financial investment in the Chesed and Leadership program, and I'm very grateful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Aimee, back to you. So, yeah, go ahead.
I must say, Truro University, the Lander College for Women, and the Graduate School of Social Work are so supportive. The deans, the president of the college, my colleagues, we started our first cohort today back in the Graduate School of Social Work, since we're now in person and no longer just online. And I really appreciate everything they do for this project.
Amazing. They must be so proud of it. I will tell you, I heard from one of your new cohort members today that Face of Orthodoxy was a topic of discussion in the first cohort meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, Aimee, tell us a little bit more about, I'm curious about the Chesed piece and the work that you do. Like, what drives you in terms of giving and helping other people? How do you help other women?
Look, I mean, I think that, you know, it really boils down to the origins of me wanting to become a doctor. At the end of the day, you know, I wanted to spend my life in service of other people. I thought that was going to be children. That's what I wasn't intending to be an accountant or a lawyer or a banker. Not that there's anything wrong with those professions, but in my mind, the Chesed piece
of being a doctor. The medicine piece was an important piece to me personally. And then it just, there was this real, as I mentioned before, this very deep desire to help other women, help other families who are dealing with infertility and pregnancy loss in a way that, in previous years and in the years that I was struggling, and we're talking now between 10 and 15 years ago, the world of infertility and loss was very, very different. There was a lot of shame, there was a lot of secrecy, there was stigma. We didn't talk about these things from on high. We didn't talk about them at the Shabbos table. We barely spoke about it with our families. And it is still in many communities, or in pieces of our communities, that is still the case. But in so many other pockets of our community, and what I saw was that the conversation was opening. And in addition to that, on high, publicly, there were articles in the New York Times, there were things in movies and TV, TV series, et cetera, where people were openly talking about their fertility struggles in a way that had not been done before. And what I always like to say is, we in the Jewish community, it's not that we don't have these problems. We just talk about it between 5 and 10 years later than everybody else. Mm. And so I knew there was this unique opportunity to be able to, again, combine my love for medicine and my need to want to give back, my own personal experience, and this striving for leadership, striving to do something new, striving for excellence. I mean, my entire life, to be a doctor, you have to be excellent at everything. And I don't know how to run a nonprofit without being excellent, because that's the fiber of who I am.
Okay, Aimee, so, I'm stopping you. Stopping you. I have a question about this. You could be an excellent doctor, but that doesn't mean that you're going to run your nonprofit excellently. Those are aren't they like different skill sets? Totally different worlds?
Okay, so welcome to the Chesed Leadership Training Program. I mean, come on, you just threw that out and I just hit it out of the park. I mean, what else is there to say? Look, I had nothing, I knew nothing about the nonprofit space, nothing. And everything I learned was there was this program, there were also other pieces, obviously. It wasn't only Cindy and the Chesed Leadership Training Program. There were other pieces. But for me, I don't know how to do things halfway. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to figure out how to do it the right way. And I'm going to try to figure out how to do it in the most impactful way. And then the other key piece for me was not only the chesed in terms of the service that we offer and talking about these issues, but it was also the chesed within the fertility space in general. I came into a space that was very well populated. Aimee, Bonei Olam, PUA, and many other Jewish fertility organizations have been around for years and do incredible work. I was not interested in taking away from any of their work. I was interested in finding where the hole was, and I wanted to be a value add instead of being something that felt like competition, something that felt like I was pulling people away. And so in conversations with Cindy, in conversations with many other different people in the nonprofit and business world, the discussions I had were always about how do I make sure that people understand that I'm not trying to step on their toes and I'm not trying to take away from their work. And so I sat down with the leaders or different individuals in each of the different Jewish fertility organizations, and I said, this is what I want to do, and I want us to work together, because at the end of the day, we all are serving the same goal. We all are trying to help people build their families. We're just doing it a little bit differently. And so when people come to me now and they say, we're struggling to have a baby and we need finances and we need doctors and we need this and we need that. And I say, go to Bonei Olam, go to Aimee, go to this one, go to this one. But then they're all going to land where I sit in I was supposed to have a baby, because we do the emotional support. Not that the other organizations don't, because they do. We just do it in a little bit of a different way. And so the beauty of the chesed, the fact that we're all trying to help the Jewish community. And we're not jealous, we're not competitive. We do this because we all have the same end goal. And that was the piece that was deeply, deeply important to me as well.
Mm. Cynthia, I'm curious your thoughts about seemingly like competing organizations. In the Orthodox world, it's a little bit different, right? We're all sort of working towards the same goal, providing different avenues of support.
Ideally, you know, we've had 3 organizations over the years dealing in this space. And my question to the third one who came to me was, you know, I don't really like duplication of efforts. Is there a need? And I was told that the need is so huge.
Wow.
And amazing going on here is that there is collaboration, and it's not a matter of what's called last man standing, where ego gets in the way and each organization wants to be the last man standing. Instead, you see these women collaborating, as Aimee discussed. And just to tell you about the need, I always say that no community is immune. When Michelle Obama's biography came out, this is Michelle Obama, the lawyer, the wife of the president. She talked about how she had fertility problems and pregnancy loss. And they took fertility, they went to all efforts to have a child. And she said that it made her feel like a failure. This is Michelle Obama feeling like a failure. And she said she had no one to talk to.
And the secular world with all the resources and all the money she has, and she had no one to talk to?
No one to talk to, and she felt like a failure. So I am thrilled that these women in this space are working on it, being a resource and working together. It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
And Aimee, I feel like something that you bring to the table is your social media presence. First of all, you're amazing in front of the camera.
Yes.
You're a doctor, nonprofit, you know, head of a nonprofit, and good in front of the camera.
I get in front of the camera all day long. So it's just like, I said to Cindy, I said, you know, we were talking before this, and it was, I don't know, 8:56 or something, and I said, wait, I have to go put on some makeup. Because I just, in 5 seconds, put on a wig and put on some lipstick and call it a day. Like, it doesn't even faze me anymore.
Well, you have a great energy, and, you know, I love following your account. So if you don't follow her account, tell us the handle.
I was supposed to have a baby. It is, look, the name was meant to evoke emotion.
I was just going to say, it's the perfect fit for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And speaking of following the account, check out Faces of Orthodoxy if you don't follow it already. This is my reminder to everyone. We're going to be wrapping up in the next few minutes. So if you do have a question for Cindy, if you read her profile and you have any, it doesn't have to be about this topic. It could be anything about the profile. I'm just offering that, Cindy. Anything about the profile, now's your opportunity. And of course to Aimee. So we'll end with your questions if you have any. Okay, so let's close. I love this notion of from female women in leadership, Orthodox women in leadership. And I would love each of you to leave a message, and we'll start with you, Cindy, to women who are watching this regarding their own potential and their own ability for leadership in the Orthodox world. What is your chizuk? What's your inspiration to leave us with?
I've given this a little bit of thought. So, you know, if you read my profiles, you saw how my career has been very non-linear. I started off in labor relations, went into politics and consulting, and I'm working at a nonprofit now, which I love, HASC. It's been very non-linear. And when I talk to women, I often cite Anne Marie Slaughter, who wrote a book called Unfinished Business. She's my age, and at one point she was the dean of the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton University, and later she became the first woman to serve as the director of policy planning in the U.S. State Department. She worked there for 2 years under Hillary Clinton, and then even though she had a brilliant public service career ahead of her, she left. Why did she leave? Because she concluded that juggling a high-level government job with the needs of her 2 teenage sons wasn't going to happen. So she left, and she went on to focus on work and family issues. This is what she perceives as her calling, instead of foreign policy. And she often discusses why it's important to seize and learn from new opportunities if they fit into your goals. So a number of years ago, like maybe 5 years ago, she reflected on her decision to leave the State Department and focus more on her family. And she said that she took a long-term perspective on what would seem right to her if she looked back on her decisions later on. And she said that putting it into that perspective, it became very clear to her that this was the right thing to do. So, okay, you know, I've cited Anne-Marie Slaughter, I've cited Michelle Obama, but let's go to some other sources I can cite too. So I was having this discussion with my fabulous nephew, Ariel Darrison, Rabbi Ariel Darrison, who's now the assistant rabbi in Dallas. And I said, you know, let's talk about our perspective on this. And he pointed me to Mesilas Yesharim, the paths of the righteous. And it says there that the root of true righteousness is a person clearly understanding and knowing what you need to do in the world by asking every day, what does Hashem want for me? Asking that question every day is a prerequisite to understanding what path to take. So a nonlinear career like mine makes sense because it can be seen as a testament to asking that question. So if your life is nonlinear, don't stress. The reality is that there are curveballs, there are opportunities. It's not just about a trajectory, which is what Aimee talks about. It's about what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from us? What does he want from me today? So I talk about, the other thing I talk about is that I want to have impact. And yes, I want to have impact. But in the long term, it's really an analysis of what does Hashem want me to do? And as we learn in Mesilas Yesharim, if you're toiling away and you don't see the impact and results right away, it's because it's up to Hashem. But the reality is that helping others is meaningful and it's Ratzon Hashem. So looking back, we may say that things did or did not happen as intended at the time, but success can come from the circuitous route. So be open to the possibilities. What Ariel and I also talked about is that we need to ask, we definitely need to ask, what does Hashem want from us, and focus on that goal. So in Chovos HaLevavos, in volume 1, Perek Gimel, there is a discussion about how every person, listen to this, we've been talking about our careers, right there in Chovos HaLevavos, how every person has a preference for a certain occupation. Like
I love this. I have learned this before. It's really life-changing wisdom.
About a certain, you might have a preference for a certain occupation or a business. Why do you have that preference? Because Hashem planted that preference within us. So I've been blessed with education, with life experience, with a skill set that puts me where I am today. It says in Chovos HaLevavos, Yechazer Aleha, pursue it. Hashem intends for us to follow our path, pursue it, and run with it. So that's my message.
Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Thank you, Cindy, for that. Okay, Aimee, you're up.
Okay, I mean, look, my thoughts about these are a little bit less lofty, frankly. I really, you know, when we had one of the lectures from the at the Chesed and Leadership training program from the dean then of the Touro School of Social Work, excuse me, it was Marion Storrs. Cindy, you have to help me because I always, her name.
She is the
Stoltz-Loike, correct? Go ahead, tell me.
The dean now, then and now, of the Lander College for Women, an amazing role model for women. Her name is Marion Stoltz-Loike.
Thank you. I always, something about
Aimee,
her name tongue-ties me.
Aimee, we had her on my podcast, The Meaningful Conversations, right. And oh boy.
Yes.
Right?
I also had to get like the transliteration.
Okay.
She's awesome. She is awesome.
So I don't know if she mentioned this when you spoke with her, but the piece that has stuck with me all of these years, one of the things that she said was, done is better than perfect. Or actually, hold on, better done than perfect. And that actually, I think, became the mantra of my life, right? I'm a person that has a deep passion for the work that I do, but I also have a deep passion for my family. And that's the reason why I do this work, because of my family and the support that my family gives to me. And I want to be there for my children. And so when my 14-year-old daughter tells me that I really don't cook very much during the week anymore, and I only cook for Shabbos, or when my little ones say, like, how come there's no dinner? And I say,
Aw.
well, ice cream is fine because it has protein and calcium and sugar, which will give you energy to have to do your homework, right? So I think that there is this idea that I'm trying to save the world, but I'm also trying to save my own world. And I have to recognize that I can't do it all. And so she gave me that framing of, I need to show up where it's important for me to show up and to let go of the things that aren't so necessary. And so that's really the way I try to lead my life. And so if we have ice cream with spinach, you know, like what's to be wrong about that? It may not be in the same meal, it may not be in the same week, month, or year, but we have both of them eventually. And so it'll be fine.
So it sounds like you had a shifting of priorities, or it was more that you acknowledge that you just need to get things done to a certain standard and don't worry about it being perfect.
Right.
Can you clarify that?
So I used to have extremely high standards for all things. Everything had to be done just so, not in a perfectionist way, but if I'm having guests for Shabbos, I want it to be like this. If I'm putting out an email, it has to be like this. If I'm getting up a post, it has to be like this. I have to get up X number of posts a week. I have to meet with X number of people per week. I have to. And the have to's had to change. And it became, what is a real have to? What is a want to? And what is a I wish? And so all of those three were kind of very muddled, and I had to really parse them out and figure out the pieces that were important. And at the end of the day, the work is important, but my family is also important. And so I try my best to balance both, knowing that each of them are not going to be 100% perfect, but I'm giving everything I can to try to make people know that I am there for them and that I will do anything for them. And that's the message that I try to give to people personally and in my work.
Beautiful. I'm so inspired by both of your thoughts. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending this half an hour with us this evening and with all of our followers who are watching. I'm sure they have gained as much as I have from this discussion. Thank you for sharing about the work that you both do, and Hashem should grant you both a lot of chizuk and a lot of inspiration yourselves to continue to have the drive and the energy to do the important work that you both do
Thank you.
for Klal Yisrael. So for the Jewish community, thank you both so much.
Amen. Thank you.